Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you.
They do it twice in Belgium?
3.
3. Well,
But you're not getting 3.
saving one
but you're
for...
not getting 3.
Oh, okay. That's what they all say. Well, anyways, I'm off. Nathalie, welcome.
Hi, good afternoon. I've been asked today to present to you guys with regards to what our approach is to work smarter and I'm going to build a little bit upon what our colleagues from Cisco have said before, as you can expect, obviously. So as we said, we know that the modern workplace today is actually changing, and that goes across a lot of different areas. First of all, we have, for the first time ever, we have 5 generations in the workspace. And if you think about it, 5 different generations, everybody works in a completely different way. If you've got teenage daughters or sons, you know that the smartphone is literally glued at their hands and they're living their life from their phones. And as they actually go into the workspace, they continue that and they continue to actually learn and work from their smartphone. It will be different if you look at people that are 45 to 50 years old. They love working with email and the old ways of collaborating on that side. And then obviously you've got the people that are almost out of the workforce that are used to working face to face, and they again have a different way of collaborating, obviously. Secondly, what we can see is that because of the organizations becoming more global and more networked, you will actually have teams that go across the world, that go across departments, that are in different time zones. So it becomes much harder as well to collaborate as well. You have to take into account the time zones, you have to take into account tools, technology, but also languages and everything that comes with regards to that. Also, we've become a hell of a lot more mobile. I mean, as I was just introduced, I'm from Belgium. I came here for this event. I'm expecting to be here to actually also follow up on what's happening in my mailbox in the meantime. When I go to the airport, I want to be able to actually open my documents. I want to be able to still do a call. So I want my tools to literally make that collaboration piece, still available as well. And if you can look at that right now, and if you look around you, a lot of you actually have multiple tools with you right now or at home. You have a mobile phone, you have your laptop, you probably also have a tablet as well. So there's a lot more devices, and whatever device that you take, you expect that you can take every document, every action that you need to take on that same device. You want to have access to everything that you normally have access to, whether you're in the office, working from home, working from a coffee bar or hotel. Okay, so that's also a big change that we're seeing right now. And as you guys mentioned, we have a lot more teams. We are working in a completely different way than what we used to do, where now we're much more open with regards to our projects and working together. We have teams that go across departments, as I mentioned before. We've got external people, we've got internal people that come with it. And everybody needs to be and work at the same pace. I need to be in the moment. And they all have to be able to work anywhere at any time. And the most important part is they all need access to everything that they need in order to work through this. And one key piece as well is those teams change. So if you have a team today of 6 people working on a specific project, if one person leaves and another person comes in, how much time does it really take you to make sure that that person is brought up to speed? It usually is huddling all the emails together, all the documents together, and having this kind of pile sent to them, like, here's your 100 emails, go through them, and you're up to date. That's not productive. That's not the way that we see things moving forward as well. We're seeing that by 2020, more than 80% of the employee time will be spent on collaborating and moving towards 100%. So collaborating means everything from calls to meetings to actually working together on documents and projects as well. But in order to do that, you actually need technology to support you. And that's why just over a year ago, Microsoft launched Microsoft Teams. What that is a chat-based workspace where literally your employees and yourself, you actually have access to everything that you need with regards to that project. It contains your files, it contains the tools that you need, it contains the apps that you need, and everything in a very secure way, so that you're sure that whatever you do is really covered with the security that you come to expect from Microsoft as well. Since March 2017, over 125,000 organizations have adapted Teams in some shape or form and actually are developing it moving forward. But times continue to change. And the big changer is actually artificial intelligence, because that is becoming more and more real. So as we were looking at the way that people are collaborating and communicating, and let's face it, life is becoming more and more hectic, we were looking at what if we could take that artificial intelligence and really build that into the way that we communicate and collaborate so it becomes easier, more productive for people to actually work together. So when we looked at it, we actually said, well, what if we just harness all the power that we grab from all the intelligence that we pull together from the Microsoft Graph, because we are pulling a lot of intelligence together. Also the intelligence through cognitive services, through the machine learning. What if we build that all in and bring that all together and actually apply that to communication and collaboration? What would happen? What would that mean for our users moving forward? And that's how we came up with intelligent communications. We actually announced this, what I'm talking through right now. We announced this in September, where we actually introduced what do we mean with intelligent communications. But what is it? Because intelligent communications is really, really broad, right? So what if, imagine that you're working on a project and you're scheduling a meeting. What if before that meeting, you get access in one place to all your documents, all your conversations, all the emails and everything that goes around with that project, PowerPoints, spreadsheets, everything in one space. You don't have to go into 17,000 different folders in order to figure out what the status is and what has been discussed earlier. But you can also see exactly who has been invited to that meeting. Which part of the organization do they belong to? Who are they reporting into? Do they have colleagues that, you know what, maybe we want them in this conversation as well? You all get that in one view. And once you're in the meeting, because let's face it, we're all talking different languages, different people that are in the meetings. What if in that conversation you can actually make sure that everybody that's in the meeting can follow the meeting in their own language? How powerful would that be? That everybody is following just like that everybody can work on the same time on that PowerPoint that we really need to churn out in order to present to the executive team tomorrow. Everybody works together at the same time. We can see each other, we can see what people are actually thinking of. That is really, really powerful. And then after the meeting, the call that got recorded is immediately posted in the same location as all the documents and all the chats and everything else that is happening with it, so that people that actually couldn't attend the meeting can really just either listen to it, or they can go and read through the transcript, which is automatically next to it. So instead of listening to an hour call, they can stroll through the text in 10 minutes and they're completely up to speed on what has been discussed. They have access immediately to the notes, to the tasks that have been assigned, and a machine can actually assign tasks as well straight away. How powerful would that be? That would make your lives so much easier pulling this through. And that's what we mean with intelligent communications. So the vision that we announced is that as of now, Microsoft Teams becomes our core communications client for our cloud customers, for our Office 365 customers. So as you know, Skype for Business is obviously one of our biggest unified communication solution. I'm going to make this clear straight away, we are not discontinuing this. We have not set a date where we're saying, as of then, we are not longer going to support Skype for Business. That's an important piece to take away. What we are doing is we're building all the functionalities and more of Skype into Microsoft Teams. So that really becomes a universal hub for teamwork, and that you only have to go into one solution in order to do your work, in order to work on your projects, to go to your files, etc., and do your meetings. This means the following. So for our commercial cloud customers, our Office 365 customers, Microsoft Teams becomes our main communication client. We continue to support and to work on Skype on-prem. That has to be very clear as well. We're actually releasing a new version at the end of the calendar year because we do realize that some of our customers, they either can't move, they're not ready to move to the cloud, etc. But really what we're doing is we really are updating the Skype for Business server version where we actually are adding in a lot of materials, functionalities that we have built in over the years in Skype for Business, but we're also making it very easy for you to actually prepare and go to the cloud in a very easy way and migrate in a very easy way when you're ready for it. So that needs to be into account as well. So that's a little bit of a side note. But Microsoft Teams, as I mentioned before, is now becoming the hub for teamwork. And what that means, it really means, first of all, you can communicate. We are including all the functionalities that we have in Skype for Business into Microsoft Teams. So you can do calls, you can schedule meetings, you can schedule your videos, etc., etc. Everything is within Microsoft Teams to do that. Secondly, collaborate. You can actually open, create, work together on documents from Teams. You don't have to go and switch apps. You're literally in Microsoft Teams working on that document, uploading. You don't need to upload version 72, version 73 anymore. Everybody is on the same pace. Everybody can work on it nicely together. And it's in the same spot as everybody expects to find it with everything else that you're working on for that specific project. You can customize it and extend it. Every single team is different. Everybody is using a different way of working, is needing different tools, different apps. We have over 150 applications, external applications, third-party applications that we're connecting with, either through a connector, through a bot, through an application, and that you can actually put on a tab, so that you can make sure that the channel, that the teams that you're working on is completely in sync in how you work with your team and what you need. If you need a link with regards to forums, if you need a link into Salesforce, if you need a link with regards to a PDF document, that is all being built into that. That's an important way of working as well. And then finally, you can work with confidence in Microsoft Teams. The security and the compliance, as well as the manageability, as you come to expect from Office 365, is obviously also available in Microsoft Teams, which is a very important part in this as well. So as I mentioned before, and as you've seen, we have built this on a new Skype backend infrastructure. And why is this important? It's important because we are really building a sort of infrastructure so that we can easily apply machine learning to it. And the cognitive services can actually be built onto that one as well. For those of you that have used Teams before, in the beginning, we really had a little bit of an issue with bandwidth. Right now, that is becoming much more efficient. But also, it's becoming much easier with regards to do calls, and the quality is so much better. It's also easier because if you're calling with somebody that does not have Teams, or you're inviting somebody that doesn't have Teams, they won't have to install a plugin. They can immediately go on the web. They immediately are transferred through the web, and they can immediately, within seconds, they're part of the team that you're working on. And that is an important aspect as well. So basically, in summary, with Teams, you can really work better and smarter. Everybody is in the know. So you're no longer sitting there hoping to get 100,000 emails in your inbox to understand what's going on. Every conversation is happening in the channel, and you can literally read through it. Imagine that you're gone for a week. You're on holiday, for example. You come back. We've all seen a situation where your mailbox literally explodes. So then it's a question of figuring out, okay, where do I start? Where do I figure out which conversation has ended where? By the persistent chat that we've built into Teams, you can literally just read through everything, the discussions, etc. So within minutes, you're completely up to speed with what you're doing. You can also, obviously, the calls are in there. You can literally listen to the calls. Your documents are at the same spot, etc. It's simply your one workspace to go to in order to stay up to speed and work from. You don't have to switch applications. What I did want to just point out is Microsoft Teams is obviously part of Microsoft 365, and we really have built a group of solutions, or a toolkit, as you can say, for teamwork. Microsoft Teams is a part of 5 solutions that we have developed over the years to improve teamwork and to work together. So we still obviously have Outlook, because there's still conversations that you will want to have over email. You want your calendar management as well in there. SharePoint for intranet and content management, that is also still part of that. Yammer, when you're actually, as I mentioned, Microsoft Teams is really to work on projects, to work in teams together, but sometimes it is necessary that you communicate something to the whole organization, or that you're building a community to share ideas, to ask questions, etc., across the organization. And that's still our solution, Yammer, which we're continuing to improve, and which will also go bi-directional with Microsoft Teams, so that you can really go from one to the other as well. Our Office apps, everybody knows, but they're now so good in co-authoring as well, so that you can really work together. And then finally, Teams, which is the one that we're talking about today. And really what that does, this whole toolkit for teamwork, is really empowering teams to achieve more faster, in a secure way, and in a more efficient way. Obviously, as you know, with Skype, we're working very much with room systems, with tools, etc., from our partners and ISVs. And I did want to mention that we, from the moment that we made this decision to actually integrate the Skype functionality into Teams, we have started working with everybody in order to make sure that that connection is also available from the moment that calling, videos, etc., is available in Microsoft Teams. So you can easily continue to work with the tools that you're currently working on. Personal and mobile solutions, the same story. I'm not even going to go into that one. And for those of you that are working with Surface Hub, right now, as you know, the immediate connection is through Skype. Right now, today, you can work through Teams, through the web, but by the end of June, July, automatically this will also work as an app on the Surface Hub as well, so that you can literally work straight away when you open up your Surface Hub, and you can literally connect into the meeting that has been called into that one. We do realize that all our users from Skype obviously are thinking, wait a minute, you're expecting me to migrate? I mean, this is a change, right? And a change is always scary. So that's why we started communicating about this very early on and very openly on what are our next steps in this whole process. We have communicated, I think we're now at the second version, a very clear roadmap which describes all the functionalities that we are building into Teams and when we will be building this into Teams. And what that does, it enables you to actually look into detail about the functionalities that you're using today, or that you want to use in the future, and actually decide for yourself when you're ready to move to Teams. And moving to Teams does not mean that you have to just immediately cut Skype and immediately jump to Teams. You can really start working on them side by side, and we leave the power of deciding that in the hands of your IT department. Your IT department can actually assign who is going to start using Skype and Teams side by side, run a proof of concept, see what works, and literally switch over when the organization, the department, or the people are ready. And that is a very important piece for us to work with that. Obviously, we have our partners that are there to help you through that process, that are there to actually walk you through that roadmap and really just identify with you what would be the best approach to moving to Microsoft Teams when you're ready for it. Okay? To do that. Just as an example, this is the big overview. I was saying we have a very detailed roadmap. You can find that on our websites very easily. This is just the overview on when we're actually putting in most of the functionality into Teams and when things will be ready. So that is also available. So what is it that you can do today? What is it that we actually recommend? First of all, we've set up this little bit of a process to help you and to help our partners to walk through this. First of all, look at the roadmap. Start looking at what is Teams? How can we start using it today? And what is the roadmap today with regards to the functionalities that we need? But that is really first a good step to go. Secondly, start onboarding users and start using Teams. You don't need to install Teams and to immediately expect to use all the functionalities that are there. But if you start using it bit by bit, you'll get the hang of it. You'll start using the persistent chat, how to build channels, how to build your teams, how to actually integrate your documents into it, how to start working with it. And as new functionality becomes available, you can start adapting that one as well. But at the side, you obviously can continue to use Skype for Business as well. Thirdly, start using Teams and Skype side by side. That's the next step. Where is it? What departments? A number of people that you can actually form a team with. We have a number of customers that I'm working closely with that have started up POCs with 8 different teams in HR and sales and marketing who are each working with it and who each are looking into how can we use this in the most optimal way, and what do we see as a blocker, what would we like to change, what kind of channels do we use, etc. What are the best practices really? And they share it with each other. And with that group, as they move ahead with it, they're actually becoming excited and start to use Skype less and less. And it's at that time that IT can decide, okay, as we're seeing it, you guys are using almost 99% of the time all the functionality in Microsoft Teams, let's switch you over. And by switching it over, your details, your contacts, and everything else enters into Teams, and you can just continue to work as is. And you can benefit of everything that's great in Microsoft Teams moving forward. Okay, so that is a really important part to follow up that. Obviously, as I mentioned, we can continue to use Skype for Business so far. We have not set a date at this point in time. You know, you have to move by then, you have to move, etc. We're not saying that at all. We'll make that decision when we see that most of our customers are actually using Microsoft Teams, and that's probably years away. I'm not even going to mention a date on that one. But what is important though is if you are using Teams and I'm using Skype, I want to be able to call and I am, etc. I want to make sure that when his presence says yellow, I want to be able to see the same thing in Teams. So all that interoperability has also been worked on in order to make sure that people who use Skype can IM people that work Teams, vice versa, that can call, so that that interoperability is obviously there in order to improve the use of that one. That's a very important part that we want to just mention as well. Finally, we have created a lot of customer resources for you to look at, both for customers that are new to Teams, for existing customers to walk through the next step. And obviously we've got Fast Track as well, which contains a lot of documents, best practices, suggestions on how to start working with Teams and what would be the best way forward. And that really just helps as well. To push forward. And they got scenarios that are very detailed, as I mentioned. You got a sales, marketing, engineering. I mean, there's a bunch of them that you literally can go ahead and apply to it. But really, the sky is the limit. It really is a question of how do we want to work? How does our team work? And you know what? The benefits of it is, as we started using it, my mailbox doesn't explode anymore, because I can now find every conversation in Teams in a structured way. If somebody starts a discussion, as opposed to sending an email to 15 people with a document attached, and everybody starts responding to it, for my version, here's your version, etc., etc., well, I did another change, I can now go into Teams, I follow the persistent chat, I know exactly who has done what, who has had what remarks, and what they've done in the document, making it so much easier to work and collaborate across the board. And that is such an important part of that intelligence that we were talking about. So, in short, our suggestion is to get started today. Download Teams and start playing around with it. Start looking at what are the opportunities, what are the possibilities. Kick off a little team. Start creating the channels and the materials that you want. Start looking at what kind of bots do we have. You have this, the Teams actually, the way that we've built it is so easy to actually develop extra bots, and we are providing a lot of bots as well, which can go from help desk bots that are really easy, over to secretary bots, over to your imagination is the limit to really just make sure that you adapt Teams in the way that you want to work with, really. And that is the key piece, and that's the key success factor as well, as you work through this as well. And with that, I would like to check if there are any questions.
Well, let's have applause at this moment. Thank you very much, Nathalie. What a charismatic performance. Yes, congratulations. So, questions. Let the box do its work. Questions, comments, anything you want to share. How many of you, how long has it been on now, this application, this team?
We
how
launched
many
it
days?
officially since March 2017.
March
a year.
2017.
It's birthday this year.
Ah. Anyone already used it? Yes? Yes, you see. Wow.
How do
about
you
some
like
feedback? Let someone give a feedback. Like, I like it, I don't like it, I love it. Just one word or anything. Let the box just go around and let's see. And just if you like it or not, or you adore it, or how do you feel?
Well, I like it quite much. There are some flaws. For example, the client version of the Teams is not always working, but the web page version is quite nice. Thank you.
So that's the Finnish version of I love it. Yes? Okay? Wonderful. How about someone else? Just a few quick comments. Yes, how about there? Yeah, just throw the catch box and let's see.
Yeah. Hi. I actually like it a lot, I would say. Like the earlier person was saying that there are like small minor bugs, but I've been searching for a website that those have been recorded actually. But the search functionalities on that side, it's not that good because there are like hundreds of comments of bugs and so on. So it's not so easy to check whether those have been already reported.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. And we are aware of that, and we're actually working on updating this. And with regards to the bugs, we are now releasing every week new features and functionalities, and we're solving bugs. Obviously, we're now pushing so much functionality into the solution that, yes, we will get a bug from time to time, but do report them when you meet them, because we also learn from them, and we actually make sure that we actually solve those as soon as we possibly can and release them in the next release. That literally, if you look around, I think every week you now get an updated version with new functionality, new pieces. The search functionality in Teams itself, as you mentioned, it has improved tremendously in the past couple of weeks as well. And we have added in also the / go to your Teams, because the more you use it, the more Teams you have, and you can really go immediately into the Teams that you want. But do us a favor, if you need something, if you got extra requirements that you're saying, listen, I'm using it a lot, but I'm missing this piece, add it into the user voice so that we really can just pick that up, and we are picking those up and building them into it, because you're probably not the only one that needs that, right?
Yeah, that's
so,
right.
So that will definitely help us.
Yeah. One particular thing that I really like is the planner part. And unfortunately, my team doesn't like it so much because I've been assigning lots of tasks through that platform, but I do like it a lot.
This is good to hear. Thank you.
And you can also change the team. So the third comment, one quick third comment, I think, then we're through. Someone who had their hand up that you already used the team. Let's see, just hand it to the next corner. Anyone with just a quick comment like yes, no, or something in between? Let's see.
Yes, hi. We're using it in our internal communications, and we've been using it for I think right away that you launched it. And we're still getting used to it, but I think it's rather nice, so we like it a lot.
Thank you. It is a different way of working, because people are so hooked on emails, and even internally, we see when stress hits, it's much easier to go into email and start sending emails to God and the world, basically, as opposed to going into Teams. And there's a couple of best practices that you have to keep in mind. You know that you can send that email into a channel. You can easily send it in there and start responding there. That's literally poking that person, saying, you know what? I appreciate that you sent me an email, but this is the place to have that conversation and to really just push it through. And that is something that goes on. Also, the more Teams that you're using, the add mentions are so important, making sure that you're not sending every single message to every person across the board. So it's kind of like a basic hygiene that we're doing with email as well, that people just need to get used to as well, obviously. And the more that you use it, it's always good that if you're saying you've been using it for over a year, it's probably good to actually review and say, okay, what is going right, what is going wrong, and can we go back to the basic principles? You know, you're always sending your messages to God and the world. Let's not do that. This was mentioned to this and this person. Let's make sure that you do that specifically to that person, for example. And that will make it, again, more productive, because you do not want to have the teams explode, right? Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Yes, of course.
Can I just introduce, I'm here with 2 colleagues, so if you have any questions, obviously I'm here as well still, and Yari and Sarita will be happy to help you as well. So for those of you that are using Teams, that are seeing issues, suggestions, or you're just loving it, please come and tell us.
So Nathalie, Jari, and Sarita, for your available possible use if you want to discuss or have comments or anything like that. Now for the final remark, as it is the Women's Day, you also got this wonderful heart of yours. Please keep in mind that the heart is a special heart that you can take it home. Why it is special? Because the blink, yes? There is ability to blink also. Yes,
There
you
you
see.
go.
And the blink is also remote, so you can also take one blink like so, and then just to borrow, like see, you see? You can take, boom, it goes
He's
in
lucky
and out.
he's on a stage, though.
Yeah, I understand. I'm taking my chances. And 2, boom, boom, and then you can take them out the ears again. So it's a special blink, okay? So just keep in mind. But
Will
thank you
do.
very much. Nathalie, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.